Okay, so the next item is the police department report. This is for last fiscal year, right?
That's what you said you
Yeah,
wanted.
okay, good. I couldn't, then I was like, I think I told it that. I think we've all seen the outline that we put together. I've talked to Chief Adair a little bit about it. There's some items on there that we prefer to have questions about. We just talked to him privately about them, which after discussed with him, I agree. So I'll turn the time over to him to present what he's got, and we'll go from there.
Well, part of the problem with the outline was I took off some time for the fair and I didn't actually get it until Monday. And so some of that stuff isn't generated on Spillman, so we would have to come up with some kind of a way to get it, I guess. Most of the stuff that's on there is already on this report. Most of the stuff that was on that form is already on this report. And I guess, I don't know, I guess I could say this, I probably regret it, but we pay quite a bit of money to Spillman for this, to generate reports, so we don't have to do them with a pencil and paper anymore. And it doesn't make much sense to me to go back and come up with a form and a bunch of stuff that you can pull off here and do it with a pencil and paper again, I guess. There are, I'm sure, some stuff that is on there that we could probably pull off. I'm gonna have to go, Charlie Taylor, or, what's his name? Hillhouse and Blanding is the Spillman expert. So I just need to go sit down with him and see what we can actually get out of the system. You can't just come up with a custom form out of Spillman. They've got certain forms that it prints off, and so anyway, we're going to try and get as much of that stuff as we can. But there's some of that stuff that if we really are going to get it, we're just going to have to do it by hand, I think. I'm not sure that that's, and maybe that's what you want us to do. I don't know.
Maybe let's.
But I'm not sure that that's the best answer and the most efficient use of time is to.
Why don't
track some of that stuff? But
for next, when we do this next quarter, let's see what you can get out of Spillman, and then maybe I'll sit down with you before and then see if there's anything else that we need to piece together. But we probably can generate out of there what we all want once we figure out what it can do. So
How much money does it cost for that thing? You gotta have.
there's reports in there, but a lot of the stuff you've asked for, well, just for instance, number of contacts per hour worked. I mean, that's a mathematical equation. If I can do it, it might not be so everybody else. I mean, you can add these up and add up the hours and say, okay, this is divide it out and say, there you go. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not sure that kind of stuff is something that we need to be spending time on. I think that that's something that anybody can do on their own if they've got an issue with it. The thing is, some of this stuff you've asked for is not stuff we track because it doesn't do us any good in trying to figure out what's going on with crime statistics and stuff. And so we'll just have to see what fits and what doesn't fit and what you really want, what you really don't.
The last time he was here, what I was curious, what I wanted to give was a report that was generated, and it didn't necessarily have to have officers' names on it, but it was just, and my experience with Spillman, and I know Spillman advances, and there's newer versions now, is that you could type in an officer's badge number just in the like, and I can say it may have changed, but you could type in their number, go down, and they have codes for each case. Like for traffic citations, there would be a code, so you could just type in the officer's badge number, and then that code set in a range of dates, and then print up a report, and it would show all the traffic citations that was written by that officer within that time frame.
Yeah, I think it'll give every, that, right? I think it'll give every number. It won't give a total. I think it'll give every citation number.
Yeah.
Which is
And well, I think it would total it up too.
It might. I don't know the answer to that.
I know. And that's what I was interested in from last time.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that is I mean, you don't have to put a name by it, we have a three-man agency.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't like talking about individuals in an open meeting.
No, and that's why we wouldn't do that. It's not a way to reprimand anybody in an open meeting or anything like that by any means. But.
And so the mayor and I talked about that, maybe doing that, and then if you want it, you can come and get it, type of thing. And
Yeah.
if somebody else isn't interested in it, then they, you know what I mean.
So what date range is this here?
That's the fiscal year,
Okay.
yeah.
July 1st.
We actually don't track fiscally, we track calendar because that's the way the federal government does it. But the mayor asked me to do fiscal, so I just put in the fiscal date range and printed off the fiscal.
Tim, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So how does the public get a copy of this? I know down in Blanding, they give it to the city council and you can go in there and ask any time and it shows a monthly report of what every officer's done for the whole month. So and they work with the same system, so how do we get a copy of it to see what's going on?
I'd have to see what report are they printing, do you know?
It's just a report the chief was doing, he turned it into the city council every month showing, it gave a total thing on like contacts, arrests, DUIs per officer, all the way down.
I don't know if he's generating out of that or if he's generating it himself.
It was out of Spillman.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, we can find out.
Something like that, though, we could have a copy of then, right? Okay.
Do you see any trends, anything crime-wise that you're concerned about that is going up and up or anything like that over years past?
The only thing I think that we're kind of seeing, and I think it's not just us, it's the county and the highway patrol, we're seeing more, a little more personal use of marijuana since Colorado has changed their law with teenagers. Not just our kids, but kids, people coming through that are buying it there and hauling it home. I think we're gonna see a problem from it, long term.
So the animal problem, is that's on the range, that's just like when the neighbor's dog barking too much, is that the type of animal problem?
Yeah, or a horse out, or a peacock, neighbor's peacocks in your yard, or anything to do with an animal, squirrel. We had a feral cats, we got people that call and want to trap feral cats, anything that's an animal. I would say probably half of them are dog calls, and probably half of them are, horses on the road, or sheep out sometimes. I mean, we just, that's just an animal call. We had it called skunks, deer in the fence.
So on this traffic violations, is that speeding tickets?
No.
Where's like
At the
speeding?
very bottom. Traffic citation, very bottom of the page.
1,002.
Okay. Oh, it's on a whole different category.
That's if we're dispatched to a traffic problem.
Oh, traffic violations.
Yeah, that would be that we were dispatched to a traffic violation, somebody doing something that somebody called in on.
So that
Reckless driving or
wouldn't
something.
include like a speed or something down the road, I guess.
No, not if we generate ourselves, it's just a citation. That's generated from we don't write a report on every speeding ticket,
Right, yeah, you don't.
So that'd be an incident report we got from dispatch that somebody called in on a
Port runner?
No, they don't log those.
Oh, they don't.
They don't generate a report on those.
About 20 traffic citations a week.
More in the summer, less in the winter. Snowy times, days you don't have any. Some of the weather. And the flow.
Is there anything on there That's quite a list. I'm just looking at the variety. Is there anything that you feel like your officers need more training with, or that?
Well, our old system lumped stuff together a lot, and this Spillman doesn't. Spillman has a deal where they can generate their own. If you look on there, that one that says PR, what's it say?
PR events?
Yeah, they just generated that like 2 weeks ago. And what they did was took funeral escorts and blocking for the parade and those kind of things and put them all into PR events. So now they're gonna call them PR events. So it's kind of a user manageable as far as the incident names, and the county has generated that because it's their system. And they just changed, we just got an email a couple of weeks ago, they changed all that stuff and put it all under PR events. I would, if I was doing it, I'd shorten it a lot, I'd lump a lot of stuff together. Because there's a lot of stuff there that I don't think needs to necessarily be tracked individually. But that's how they do it. They've never, the county has never, or they may have now, but when we got on with them, they had never printed a report off of it. They didn't even know how to print a report off of it. It took me weeks to find a guy that could figure out how to print a report off of it. I mean, they printed reports for the county attorney, you know what I'm talking about, individual reports. But like a summary report, they didn't know how to print any of those. They were still doing UCRs by hand.
So any time that the officers are called out to go do something, or if they are on duty and they see something and they stop and help somebody or whatever, are they pretty good about logging it into Spillman? Is that?
Well, it kind of depends on what it is.
Yeah.
Depends on what it is. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't put in Spillman. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's small enough that it's kind of a waste of time to write a report on it.
So is that pretty much the equivalent of writing a report if you put it in the system? Gotcha.
Yeah, you have to put all the stuff in and write, do at least the first page. And so if dispatch does what they're supposed to, then they usually put most of that information in. But like when I come seeing you yesterday, I didn't write it. I didn't put nothing in there. And I don't know if they want it. You guys want that? Don't want that? I don't know what you want to do with that. You know, the problem I have with some of this stuff is we're still a little town, and sometimes people will call you. They want to talk to you about something. They don't want their name used. They don't want any record of it. They don't want anybody to know.
Or whatever, yeah.
Well, they just don't want anybody to know.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that's
I
kind
mean, I
of
had
the
a
same as
lady-
being on the city
I had a
council.
lady-
It's like, we'll come to a city council meeting. and
I
no
had a
one wants
lady
to come
yesterday
and
that
discuss
called me, wanted to talk to me. She's worried about something happening in her neighborhood. Didn't want me to come to her house. Wants to talk to me in town. Doesn't want them to know she talked to the police. So, do I write a report on that? You know what I'm saying? Because if I write a report on it and put her address and everything, then everybody that sees that report's going to know something's going on down there. So I don't write a report on it, just because we're a little town and they want anonymity because, I mean, we got a case going right now that we think ought to be something done with it, but the victim doesn't want to do anything because of the stigmatism that's associated with it, with being a victim. So we deal with that more in a little town than you would in a big place.
While we're on that subject, there's a couple of things. There's three things that I kind of wanted to talk about because they're, and like I said, no one wants to come to a city council meeting. There's one thing I'm discussing is reports and how the department communicates with not only amongst itself but with other agencies. There was an example of a trailer, I believe, that was stolen. One office, and like I said, I don't want to use names because it's not a disciplinary. I just want, just maybe if we could hash out some ideas that would make things go better. But communication seemed to be an issue. One officer took a report for the trailer. When the victims of that trailer theft asked another officer, I don't know the time frame, whether it was several days, a week, 2 weeks later, if there was any progress on their event, the other officer didn't know about this. Is what they explained to me. And I'm just wondering if, you know, if there's a theft of property, or if there's some sort of place in your department or a policy that can't be implemented where, especially with technology now, text and stuff like that, if an officer takes a report of a stolen trailer, any type of vehicle, something like that, a text can't be shot out to all the other officers.
All they gotta do is put it in Spillman.
Well, yeah.
The message thing in Spillman, they can message
But
everybody.
if an officer is off duty though, is he gonna check Spillman, you know?
Nobody should when he comes back. Should.
When he, but what say the other they're off-duty officers around town, he's in Maverick getting a drink, he gets a text, oh, there's a trailer stolen, and he happens to see that trailer driving through town later. You know, I'm just saying if there aren't ways to enhance the communication inter-department, inter-agency with other agencies that would kind of
Was
speed
it
up.
stolen town?
Yeah, it was the one behind the hospital. It was is it Philip Lowe's trailer? It was sitting out there forever. I see it every day on my way to work and coming home, and you know, and someone decided that I guess they needed it more than him, and I'm just wondering in a case like that, you know, I'm getting information secondhand, so I may be, you know, missing some important facts in this, but the way someone came to me and explained it is that's kind of it in a nutshell. And I'm wondering if there isn't, if we can implement a policy where the communication is sped up, or, you know, something that's implemented so that immediately all the officers know, you know, text, you know, you get on the phone and text, you know, a group, and boom, everybody in the law enforcement community, if you have access
You
to
can
it.
show me how to do a group.
Well, I know, but you've got officers on your department that can.
I'm just kidding.
You know what I mean?
No, I know. No, that's not a bad idea, actually.
Just something like with stolen vehicles or
Yeah.
quick run, something like that.
Because you never know. You're
We
on
do,
duty,
we
you're
do
the
text a lot of stuff back and forth.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
going on.
and you know, sometimes because we are a small town, and sometimes we think, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, this.
Sometimes, as you probably well know, and I don't know all the details of that whole thing.
But I don't either. I'm not-
Sometimes you well know that somebody will come and say, well, my trailer's missing. I had one of these.
Yeah.
My flatbed trailer's missing. Where's the last time you used it? Oh, 2 or 3 months ago. And you go over there and you can see it's been gone a month.
Right.
So you think, well,
Yeah. And,
nobody's
yeah.
gonna be dragging it around
Yeah.
town, so that's probably not.
No,
but I can
not
see-
relevant.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There-
that's a good point.
There was that, and then another officer from a different agency stopped me and says, why is Avery pulling over people at night in an unmarked vehicle without the proper lights? You know, because in the academy they teach, you know, when you're pulling over a vehicle, you want that, the terminology is curtain of light for your advantage. So that if you've got a vehicle pulled over, you flood them with light so they can't see you, you can see them. And I just, you know, do we need to equip officers better? Is it, you know, is it, I think this comes down to an issue of officer safety, you know, especially for officer.
Yeah, that's something probably that you and I should discuss when you got it, not in city council meeting.
Well, in the city council, this is where we can decide.
I know, but if it's an officer safety issue, we should have dealt with it that day and not a month later. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I just know, well, I
See what I'm saying?
I know, but I saw this, I verified it for myself just the other night. This is just something that's been really recent.
Yeah.
And I drove by, and sure enough, he's got somebody pulled over. He doesn't have the lights on that vehicle, he just doesn't have the equipment for his own safety.
Yeah, we were gonna put a light bar on that thing, but that thing's been in the shop. He's used it like 2 days.
Right.
And broke down, 2
Yeah.
days and broke down, 2 days and broke down. We just haven't got it done.
Okay. It's just something, you know, that
He's
I think
planning
the
on-
other city council members and the mayor should know about.
He's
It's
planning on taking the light bar off
that.
Crown Vic.
Okay. Is it sufficient? Is it bright enough to?
Oh, yeah.
For him?
It's
Okay.
got takedowns on everything.
Okay. All right, and then this other stuff that we've just kind of discussed, but, you know, that's the thing, is people will come and talk to me about issues. I can't get any of them to come to the city council and.
But when they do, we'd like to hear about them that day, so we can deal with them.
Well, oh, certainly,
You know.
yeah.
You know, I brought that up before. People hear stuff, and they don't ever tell us, so it doesn't solve the problem, because we never hear back. You know.
Becca, I think Councilman Duke mentioned it. Is there any concern you have as far as training that you think
No,
would be anything we need to do
No,
with training or anything?
Well, it just, training's an ongoing thing. you can't give everybody all the training they need, in 1 year. I mean, we just have to pick it up as we go.
I would say that too. I would say, well, we hope that we can advocate for you in any way, you know, anything we can do to advocate for what.
We're gonna have to look at doing something about that third car. I mean, it's in the shop again for ball joints or something. And
Is
it's
that
just,
the Durango?
we put a motor in it and it got it back, and we had to put blower fans in it, and we got it back, and now the ball joints are back. It's just,
How many miles that thing got on?
it doesn't have that many miles on it, it's only got like 60. But
60 on the motor, but how many on the
we had,
vehicle?
we had 800 miles, the steering went out on it. Had to put new steering in it, it was under warranty, but the gas tanks imploded in it twice. We've had to redo the air conditioning with that. I think it's just we just had a lot of problems with that car. So I think, I don't know when, but sometime we need to look at maybe replacing it, getting rid of it.
Sound like you about bought a new one already.
Maybe you ought to throw the lights on this new car.
Or I'm back. Is there anything, any specific needs that you have as far as the equipment, anything like that?
No, we've been pretty good about getting grants, and we're okay equipment-wise, other than the car. Problem with those grants, we've been getting those JAG grants, but they're $5,000, so they won't quite buy a car.
Yeah.
But we did use a JAG grant to buy those Durangos from the county, to help
Yeah.
with the whole, we sold some cars and we got a grant from USDA, and we got that JAG grant, we put it all together and got those Durangos from the county, and I anticipate we'll get another one of those, but they've been going down. They were 7,500, they went to 5, but that's how we got our in-car computers, was with those, that kind of stuff. So we've been buying tasers, our gun, we've been buying stuff that we need, smaller equipment stuff with that kind of money.
Last time we talked, you were saying that there was a lot of problems still with the system not allowing highway patrolmen or whatever, if they're working for you to write tickets. Has any of that been resolved with the state yet, or is it still?
No, they didn't pass that.
They didn't pass it.
But we talked to, I didn't, Avery talked to Hillhouse just the other day, because it's just an ongoing issue that we have with this part-time deal. It's definitely not what we want, but I don't know what else we can do. And he said he was pretty close to getting it to where they could actually write tickets and spell them. We've had issues, the state's been the biggest problem we've had. They don't want any one guy to have 2 different passwords, basically.
Would it be better to have county deputies cover shifts and rather than highway patrol? That way we're getting.
Well, we tried that and nobody would do it.
No one wants to do it.
We used to have Alan, and, well, you did it when you were on the county, and we had some guys, and nobody wanted to do it. Joe can make more money plumbing than he can make working for us, so he didn't want to do it.
Does the sheriff have any type of responsibility to maybe help us out in
He
providing
does.
law enforcement?
He does if we were in an emergency situation, but not in a normal.
Not to cover, no.
No, we're a municipality. We're what do you call it? No, we're.
But we're still within the county, don't we still fall within the county
Yeah,
law?
but we're.
They don't have to patrol.
We're our own taxing entity,
Yeah.
and so that was, what did we call it?
They wouldn't have to
See,
patrol.
Bluff went through that when they wanted to it's not consolidate, incorporate. Bluff went through it, and they would have had to provide their own law enforcement. They would either had to pay the county to do it or provide their own, because they're incorporated. Once you incorporate, you have to provide fire, water, sewer, roads.
Actually, I don't think you're required to provide law enforcement. State of Utah, the county sheriff's department is required to, but not municipalities. There's many municipalities that are incorporated in the county, that in the state of Utah, that don't have police departments.
But they pay the county to do
They
it.
don't have to if they don't want to. That's just for extra coverage.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought I'd heard too. That's what I was wondering, we can't have the sheriff's deputies help us with.
They wouldn't have to patrol, I mean, that's the.
They wouldn't have to patrol, but they'd have to be at least
They
available.
would, they only would really have to, they would have to respond if a 911 call came, that's their obligation.
Right, right.
That's it. Well, yeah, that ain't much.
No.
Now, all the places I know that the county covers cities, the cities pay. I'm not aware of any place
Yeah, I just,
in
from
Utah.
Wendover, Utah, they did the same thing and they pay the county.
Pay the county. I'm not aware of anybody that doesn't pay.
Monroe,
Who?
Monroe,
Monroe doesn't pay?
and most of the ones that do pay, it's just because their councils decided that they wanted more than just
Extra
the
coverage.
county that responded, they actually
So
wanted.
Monroe doesn't have any patrol?
Mm-mm.
Is that Sanpete County?
It's next to Richfield.
Severe.
It's probably severe.
But there was, anyways, there was a big, the only reason I know anything about it is because it was a big topic at one of our UCMA conferences.
Because I know Cole, when he worked in Sanpete County, they patrolled all those cities in Sanpete, and they paid them.
Do, I don't know the wording, or whatever, but all your officers are up to date on their certifications and everything like that? Good. Are those renewed annually, or
Depends on,
what they are?
yeah, firearms is annually, but, some, a lot of those are, 2 or 3 years. They can do them online now, almost all those certifications. Firearms you can't, but like intoxilizer and those, they can do them online. Do you guys have online stuff, or no? Yeah, they eventually, our legal update this year was online. Nobody liked it. It's not near as informative, because you can't ask questions. I mean, supposedly they're doing it on a teleconference, but they do the whole state. And, I mean, it's just, you can't ask questions. So, it's not as good, I don't like it, but they claim they do it to save money.
Where did we end up, revenue-wise, from what we've done?
I apologize, I haven't looked at it recently, but, from the original or the revised?
From the revised.
It was close.
Close, wasn't it?
It was close. I don't wanna speak to it without, sorry.
I remember we talked about it right there, right at the end, and it was close, because when we looked at like 4 months
Once-
prior or whatever, I was like, oh, we're way off, but then it.
Once we dropped the amount, it came in within what you would expect any department.
Anything specific from the council we need?
No?
Do you guys do, I know you do DARE program in elementary schools, is awesome, by the way. This is my last year getting to go, Clayton, but, do you do anything at the high school or anything like that as far as trick education, DARE type stuff?
We do, I go into all the driver's ed classes and do just a one-day class on alcohol. Well, and we touch on drugs too, but mostly DUI type stuff and alcohol laws and binge drinking and that kind of stuff. Effects of alcohol. That's the only, we tried doing the DARE program in the 8th grade several years ago, and we had a really hard time because they just didn't have time for us to be there. Yeah. And, you know how it is, if you have a kid in high school, you know how it is up there, they don't have very many elective classes because they don't have that many teachers. Right. Most of the teachers teach core stuff, and they don't even have a home ec anymore. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So we just had trouble fitting it in. And we thought, we did it, and the teachers liked it, but they didn't like it because it was just taking up too much of their time. And so we did it for a while, but it just became a nightmare, so we quit doing it. So we just do the 5th grade.
listen a little better too.
Fifth
Yeah,
grade.
I would think the fifth grade.
Eighth grade was hard.
Yeah, I would think.
There wasn't anything.
When you get a little older.
Eighth graders are hard, it was just a hard deal, and they just didn't have time, and they hadn't totally bought into it. It was just, didn't work. They did it for about 3 years.
Last time we were here, I don't think last time before, we talked a lot about, animal, mostly dog situation, and you were working with the chief on the dog, or with the sheriff on the dog pound issue. Has any of that been resolved? They said they were gonna help
Yeah,
with
we
it,
kinda-
things got fixed or something
Well-
like that, but I haven't really heard anything since.
Well, Nathan and I met and looked at it, and Nathan said that Chris would lay the block down there, we were gonna lay some block, and then they were gonna give us how many we needed and stuff, and then they got busy doing that. Was it a sewer line?
We did a water line, and now we're on the community center, and so,
So
yeah.
that's just kinda got pushed to the back. The sheriff agreed to pay for it. We downsized a lot what the original plan was. They wanted to run power over there, but they were under the impression, the guy that did it, that we could just run like 10-3 all the way
Yeah.
from over to the grinder to that building, and you'd have about no amps on there,
Yeah.
burning wire up. And they wanted to put heaters in there, electric heaters, and no way, that's way too far. That would be way expensive to put wire that far.
Yeah.
So we kinda nixed all that. What the plan is to go inside and put up cinder blocks like 4 feet high, just build a cinder block wall around each cage type of thing. Take the floor drain thing out and put a trough in there with kind of a door so that the rodents can't come back in, so that everything will go down the trough, and the cinder blocks will keep stuff going, and then just put a short fence up on top of the cinder blocks all the way around. I think it's a good plan. And then we talked about putting some, I don't know what they call those things, that spin turbines maybe?
Exhaust
Those, yeah, just bring some air in. So we really don't wanna put windows in it.
Yeah.
We put windows in, they're just gonna see their dog in and break the window. We had that issue before. So we thought about putting them in just to get some circulation in the thing in the summertime. But, that's kinda where it's at. These guys got hung up on a bunch of stuff and just didn't have time to do it, so. I don't know if we'll get it done before winter or not, honestly.
I know we had talked before, you had mentioned that they were gonna have, the county was gonna have dentists have the equipment or whatever to be able to round up the dogs' cages and stuff. Did that materialize into anything, or are we having to do that ourselves?
No, well, he's been helping us quite a bit. We don't have an agreement with him. He's just been helping us just to help us.
Okay.
And so, he's been helping us pick up some dogs and stuff. We haven't had a lot of problem areas for a while.
Yeah, I haven't noticed, I still get mentioned every once in a while, same areas as before, but not for a while there, like when we came before in the spring, it seemed like
Yeah.
they were rampant everywhere, but.
Yeah, and we've got rid of some of the problem ones. I guess some of them got hit on the highway today.
We should.
Three.
3?
So. Anyway. But yeah, we haven't had a lot of problems that way, at least they haven't been calling us. We picked up quite a few, and like I said, Dennis has been helping us, but we haven't got the improvements done to all.
What did we discuss on that with Dennis? What was the question? Whether we would contract or, I can't remember on that.
Yeah, the last conversation was we would contract, but we thought that the sheriff wanted too much money.
And it was per incident thing, is that, or was it a
I
monthly
can't
fee?
remember now.
I think it was.
We hashed it around for a while, and we decided it was too much money for what we were gonna get out of it. So when we haven't revisited it since.
We talked about issues with
citizens always calling officers directly and not going through dispatch? Is any of that seem to get any better?
No, I think that's a lot better.
Good.
I think it's a training thing.
Yeah.
The problem we had is we had a secretary here, we moved out of here, we didn't have anybody, people didn't know what to do, where to go, and so they just went to people.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to where,
People would be better about calling through dispatch.
Well,
Well, that helped you guys out a lot too.
Oh, it's a ton better.
Even like you said with Spillman, if they go through dispatch, part of that gets filled out already.
Well, not only that, but if you have issues, they have a callback number and they know what's going on. And it's just a lot better deal. And I honestly, I had one about 3 weeks ago from somebody that I've had a lot from that I've been really trying to train, and it's been a long process. But we haven't had very many lately, so I think we've made some progress. People are starting to find out that you got to call here, and I think when we switched, we get I don't know, you guys probably do, everybody does, you get a lot of junk calls. People trying to sell you something or whatever. And so they didn't want to filter those, they wanted to send them back over. And now we've kind of got them to where they're filtering them and just saying they don't buy anything, I tell them, I don't buy anything over the phone. If you got something that's great, fax me a picture of it, and if I want it, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
And that we've filtered out a lot of those things, I think, because we don't get near as many of them. And we've it was just kind of a training process, I think, for the people and for us too, because now we have to work closer with the sheriff's office, because Rolena actually fields all those calls for us now, and so I think it was just a training thing. It's been a lot better.
Good. I haven't had, I used to even get at the pharmacy, people come in and say, I need to get a hold of Cole or Chief, I got some issue, and I haven't had people do that for a long time. I think people are getting a lot better.
Yeah, we
just call
They
dispatch.
kind of figured out to just call dispatch.
That's good.
And I've had people that say, well, I don't know the number, and I told them, just call 911.
Yeah.
They're not that busy. And, if you got a real issue. So, but yeah, we haven't had that. I think that's a pretty well done deal.
Good. Any other?
I'm sorry, you asked about certification. So everyone has radar, firearms, and intoxilizer? All three, everybody has those? Okay.
Is there any other certifications that through training they can get if somebody wanted to?
Well, like Cole's certified, and Cole and I are both certified to teach Dare. And, you could be a certified firearms instructor. There's other certifications out there. Well, we're certified for tasers. You have to certify every year with the taser. So, yeah, there's other certifications.
And this is mostly just for general information, I guess, because I think really none of us really know. So, on average, let's say, in a week, in a 40-hour period, or not a 40, in a 7-day period, each officer, so they patrol how many hours and are on call how many hours. And when we talk about, does everyone do 40 hours patrol and 40 hours on call? How does that work? Just so we're kind of familiar with how that works.
We go 4 to 4, and we obviously have some overlap, but it's just easier for dispatch if we have a set thing.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at 4 o'clock in the morning, the day shift goes on call until they come to work, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the night car comes on call until they come to work. And so the day car would cover 4 to 4, and the night car would cover 4 to 4.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of times where the night car comes out at 5 and the day car's still out till 6 or whatever. There's an overlap, or sometimes not very much on the other end, hardly ever on the other end, but there's some overlap there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so that if somebody's already gone in, the dispatch knows that this time we call the day car and this time we call the night car.
Right.
Because we had a lot of issues with that, and so we didn't used to do that. We just used to be when the night car went home, the day car was on call. But sometimes those night guys would have a court or something during the day or whatever, or it was slow or whatever, and they had too many hours, so they'd go home at 11, and then dispatch was like, well, do I call them back out? I call the day car, what do I do? So just, and they've had a, I mean, nothing, no offense to Sheriff Rose, they've had a ton of turnover. I mean, an absolute ton of turnover. And so we've always got new dispatchers in there. I mean, you know that. And so we just said 4 to 4. And so they got it posted down there. Day car's 4 to 4, night car's 4 to 4. It just works better.
So on the day car, night car, so you got a 12-hour shift basically, and how many of those hours would be like patrol hours, and then how many call hours?
Well,
Does that make sense?
yeah, they're supposed to work 8 hours.
So 8 hours patrol, and then they'd be on call for 4 hours
Theoretically.
basically, okay.
And sometimes they're out more than that.
Sure.
And, yeah, but in a perfect world, that's how it'd work. Yeah, it'd be 8 on, 4 on call.
Any other questions? Thanks for all you guys do, and then if you'll talk to them about those reports maybe, and then I'll get.
I'll just take that thing down to Hill House, because if they were pulling a report off of Spillman, defensive hours, I'm sure he's the one
Show you how to
doing
do
it.
it, and then we can.
He's the one doing it, because he's the only one that knows anything about the system.
Okay.
They sent him to training on it.
Okay.
Who's Hill House again?
Huh?
Who's Hill House again?
Jared.
Jared,
And what's his role again?
he's a blending.
He works for Blank City Police.
Okay, gotcha.
But Troy knew quite a bit about it when he worked, but he's back over there again now, but so when he
It's a
left,
valued
Jared,
officer.
he knew the most about it. So Rick, the sheriff, actually paid for him to go to some Spillman training, so that, because nobody knew anything. Our biggest problem is we piggybacked on them, and Blanning piggybacked on them, but nobody trained us, because nobody really knew how to use the whole system. They just knew what they were doing. They weren't even doing that. Dispatch wasn't even entering anything before Blanning and us came on with them. That's all fairly new with them, so. He's the guy that knows the system better than anybody, so I'll just go to talk to him and see what we can pull out of there.
Okay. Then just drop by and let me know, and then we can get together and kind of see what's useful, you know, how.
And we'll see what he could pull out of that thing and teach me how to do it. The problem is, I didn't grow up with computers, you know, and like this report, I do it once every quarter. I've got it written down how to do it, because I don't remember. And so I'll just go get with him and we'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why we kind of compiled this, is let's say, okay, let's have something that is the information that we kind of want that's going to be the same every time.
Every
So
time.
there's no question when he comes in, what do we want? There's no,
Sure.
us asking oddball questions. It's like standardized for everyone and makes it easier for everyone. So.
Right.
Or if citizens,
Yeah.
if citizens are interested or whatever.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in.
Okay,
And
thank you very much.
let us know.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next.